For the first time in Asia, connect your landphone and smartphone through SLT Wi-Fi with the SLT Voice app.
Critical time. President Maithripala Sirisena laments lack of sufficient medical professionals to meet national requirement. But UN says Sri Lanka must prioritise preparedness for emergency medicine.
In Sri Lanka, the recent Easter explosions proved even more the absolute criticality of an effective emergency medicine system.
No mercy. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is adamant that people who instigate racism should be treated as terrorists, suggests no pardon. Not deterred, BOI chairman insists no cancellations of investment to Sri Lanka after attacks.
No, because the governance will drop by 700 million. That's why.
It will definitely have an impact. I'm not saying it is not going to be. The job of central bank is to be realistic in their assessments and give predictions accordingly. My job is quite different.
All these stories and much more coming up on First at 9 this Sunday, the 2nd of June 2019.
AdaDerana ඇතුළත ඉදිමීම සමනය කරන අතර විනාඩි 5කින් ක්‍රියා කිරීම ආරම්භයි. AdaDerana දිවියට නව දිරයක්. AdaDerana වෙතින් එසේ කැක්කුමට විශේෂඥා AdaDerana Headfast ඉක්මනට සහනය අදම අත්විඳින්න.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Well, a very good evening and welcome to First at 9 on AdaDerana 24, Sri Lanka's news channel. I'm Katharina Chang. Now on to your top story tonight. UN Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative in Sri Lanka, Hannah Singer, highlights that the recent attacks in Sri Lanka have proved the critical need for an effective emergency medical system in the country. Speaking in Colombo, Hannah Singer, while calling for further improvement in the country's healthcare system, also affirmed the support of the UN in collaboration with the World Health Organization in strengthening capacity building on the country's emergency preparedness. President Maithripala Sirisena, who presided over the event, delivering his address, said that Sri Lanka is currently facing an insufficiency in medical professionals to meet the national requirement.
The inauguration of Sri Lanka College of Emergency Physicians was held at the BMICH this morning, with President Maithripala Sirisena presiding over the event.
වෛද්‍යවරුන් විශාල වශයෙන් පිටරට සේවයට යෑමත් ඒ වගේම හෙද සේවයේ විශාල පිරිසක් පිටරට යෑමත් වාර්ෂික විශ්‍රාම ලබන සංඛ්‍යාවත් මේ ප්‍රමාණය ගත් විට වසරකට බිහි වෙන විශේෂඥ වෛද්‍යවරුන් සහ හෙද නිලධාරීන් සංඛ්‍යාව ජාතික අවශ්‍යතාවය සම්පූර්ණ කරන්න කිසිසේත් ප්‍රමාණවත් වෙලා නැහැ. රෝග වැළැක්වීම, රෝග නිවාරණය, ඒ වගේම හදිසි අනතුරු වැළැක්වීම සම්බන්ධයෙන්, හදිසි අනතුරු පාලනය කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් පොලිසිය ඇතුළු අනෙකුත් රාජ්‍ය අංශවලින් ක්‍රියාත්මක
UN Resident Coordinator and UNDP Resident Representative in Sri Lanka, Hannah Singer, went on to say that it is of critical importance to understand the need for a well-developed, prepared and organized medical system to increase survival rate after emergency medical situations.
In my service in Syria, I have witnessed how emergency medicine actually made a difference in the life and death of people. In Sri Lanka, the recent Easter explosions that claimed over 260 proved even more the absolute criticality of an effective emergency medicine system to be in place. Capacity building on preparedness for emergency is a key strategic priority for the country and is one area where the UN, in collaboration with WHO, may be strengthened. Preparedness requires more than emergency plans and simulation exercises. It means building resilience and a network of partners who are competent and prepared to support public health action. The Sri Lanka College of Emergency Physicians will be instrumental in providing this much needed expertise to strengthening the emergency care systems.
Today, when a couple of bombs are blasted, we talk about deaths. But please understand, 70% of our people are dying because of our NCDs. Those are silent deaths. And all our water resources are contaminated with poisons. All our food is poisoned. So we have to address this genocide also from that angle. Putting the emergency departments in the well-organized track will not only reflect the emergency medicine care delivery, but also the entire healthcare delivery of a country.
Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe is adamant that no mercy will be shown upon terrorists, calling the people who aid racism be subjected to an equal treatment as terrorists. The Premier made this comment at an event held in Jaffna today.
IS ත්‍රස්තවාදීන්ට කිසිම අනුකම්පාවක් පෙන්වන්නේ නැහැ. අපි ඒක අද තියෙන සහරාන්ගේ NTJ එකත් නැති කරලා තියෙන්නේ. ඒත් මේකට ආපහු හිස ඔසවන්න ඉඩ දෙන්න බෑ. ඒ වගේම සුමානයක් ගිහින් මේ සියල්ලම සාමාන්‍ය තත්ත්වයට ආවිල්ලා පාසල් විවුර්ත කරන්න ගිය දිනේ කුලියා පිටියයි, වාරිය පොළයි, බින්ගිරියයි ජාතිවාදී කෝලහල ඇති කරා. මුස්ලිම් කඩවලට ගැහුවා. ගෙවල් වලට ගැහුවා. මිනිවංගොඩ ගැහුවේ මුස්ලිම් කඩවලට විතරක් නෙමෙයි. Tamanට විරුද්ධ වෙලදාම් කරන සිංහල කඩ හතරකටත් ගැහුවා. ඒ සංවිධානය වෙලා කරපු එක. මේක පාලනය කරන්න අපිට පුළුවන් වුණා. මෙතන බලන්නේ ජාතිවාදයට යන්න. රටේ අවුලක් ඇති කරන්න. එහෙම අවුලක් ඇති වෙනවා නම් ඒකේ ජයග්‍රහණය එන්නේ IS ත්‍රස්තවාදීන්ට පමණයි. ජූලි කලබලයේදී ද්‍රවිඩ ජනතාව තරහ කරගත්තා වාගේ අද IS වාදයට විරුද්ධව ඉන්න මුස්ලිම් ජනතාව අපි නිශ්ශබ්ද කරගන්නේ. ඒතර කොහොමද මේ සටන ගෙනියන්නේ? මට බුද්ධිංශ වලින් කියනවා එහෙම තත්වයක් ඇති වුණොත් අපිට තොරතුරු ගන්න බැරි වෙනවා කියලා. එහෙනම් අද ජාතිවාදී කෝලහල ප්‍රචණ්ඩ ක්‍රියා ඇති කරන්නට යන අය IS ත්‍රස්තවාදීන් වාගේම සැලකන්න ඕනේ. උදව් කරන අයටත් ඒ සමාව නැතුව වැඩ කරන්න ඕනේ.
The hunger strike launched by Venerable Athuriye Ratanathera demanding the removal of Minister Rishad Badiuddin, Eastern Province Governor MLA M. Hizbullah and Western Province Governor Azad Sali from their respective posts continued for a third day today. Meanwhile, two Buddhist clergy joined the protest fast by TNA parliamentarian S. Viyalendaran, which was launched yesterday in solidarity with Ratanathera.
Venerable Athuriye Ratanathera continued his protest fast for a third consecutive day today. Ratanathera commenced the hunger strike in front of the Temple of the Tooth Relic in Kandy on Friday, demanding the removal of Minister Rishad Badiuddin and Governors MLA M. Hizbullah and Asad Sali from their respective positions. Meanwhile, TNA parliamentarian S. Viyalendaran, who also launched a protest fast in support of the Thera yesterday, entered its second day today. Two Buddhist monks from the Dimbulagala Aranya Senasana also joined the protest fast, launched by TNA parliamentarian S. Viyalendaran.
Meanwhile, the Jatika Helurume urges that the concerns raised about Minister Rishad Badiuddin and Governor of Eastern Province ALM Hizbullah should be taken to court, seeking court ruling as soon as possible. In a statement today, the JHU pointed out that they look forward to an impartial investigations into the matter.
A statement was issued today by the Jatika Helurume pertaining to the allegations levelled against Minister Rishad Badiuddin and Governor of the Eastern Province MLA M. Hizbullah. It states that the public only expects an impartial and unbiased investigation into allegations levelled against them, which is the reason behind the Fast Unto Death campaign launched by Venerable Athuriye Ratanathera. The statement further noted that after the accusations are heard, a court ruling should be given as soon as possible. Meanwhile, General Secretary of the Jatika Helurume Minister Patali Champika Ranawaka called on the Mahanayaka of the Amarapura sect, Most Venerable Katugoda Dhammavansatthera at the Dharmapala Ramaya Temple in Mount Lavinia today.
ජනවාරි 8 වෙනකොට 2020 අලුත් ජනාධිපති කෙනෙක් ඉන්න ඕනේ. ඉතින් ඒ ජනාධිපතිවරණය දක්වා මේකේ උණුසුම පියෝ සු තීරණ ගන්නේ රටේ අනාගතය ඉදිරි අවුරුදු 5 සංවර්ධනය ආරක්ෂාව ගැන නෙවෙයි. මේ ප්‍රශ්නේ මත පදනම් වෙලා තමයි හිතේ වේගයට තීරණ ගන්නේ. හන්දේ වලක් දවස කල් දාන්න බෑනේ අපිට. මේ 50 ටික සම්මත කරගත්තාම රට නිවෙයිනේ. ඒක අඩුම ගානේ ජූලි මාසෙවත් කරන්න ඕනේ.
Following the meeting, the minister spoke to media.
අලුත් ත්‍රස්තවාදයක් මේක. විධිමත් තනි එක නීතියක අවශ්‍යතාවය තියෙනවා. පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ
ඇතැම් ආයතන සංස්ථාගත කිරීමේදී ශරියා නීතිය යටතේ ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා කියලා වගන්ති සම්මත කරගෙන තියෙනවා. ඉතින් ඒවා හොයලා බලලා ඒවා රටේ සාමාන්‍ය නීතිය යටතේ ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමට කටයුතු කිරීම. කිසිසේත්ම මේකෙන් මේ මුස්ලිම් අනන්‍යතාවය විනාශ කරන්න යනව නෙවෙයි රට එක නීතියකට එක නීති පද්ධතියකට ගැනීමයි බලාපොරොත්තු.
Member of the committee appointed by the President to probe Easter Sunday attacks, former Defence Secretary Padmasiri Jayamana says that they have been requested to provide a report on their findings before the 10th of this month. When AdaDerana inquired into the matter, he said that collections of evidence pertaining to the Easter attacks had concluded. Meanwhile, an individual impersonating a major of the Army intelligence was arrested by Police Special Task Force today.
The Police Special Task Force took to custody an individual impersonating a major of the Army intelligence at the Soisapura flats in Moratuwa today. The suspect was identified as Mohammad Nizar Imran, alias John Walk. According to the police spokesperson, the STF had discovered 2 laptops, a drone camera, 2 digital cameras and T-shirts similar to Army attire. The suspect was handed over to the Organised Crime Prevention Division for further interrogation. Meanwhile, an individual was arrested for funding the National Tawheed Jamaat organisation, which was founded by the ringleader of the Easter Sunday attacks, Zaharan Hashim. The arrest was made following investigations conducted by Horupatana police. The individual was identified as Mohammad Sahin Nazaruddin, a resident of Dehiwala. According to the police media spokesperson, the suspect has been detained by the Horupatana police.
JVP parliamentarian Bima Ratnayaka says that the tripartite agreement entered into between Sri Lanka, India and Japan to build the East Container Terminal at the port of Colombo does not benefit Sri Lanka in any way. Speaking to media, the parliamentarian highlighted that the deal was signed owing to pressure by the Indian government.
මයි 28 වෙනිදා වර්තමාන ආණ්ඩුව විසින් කොළඹ වරායේ නැගෙනහිර ජැටිය ඉන්දියාවට සහ ජපානයට විකුණාදමු ලැබුවා. මෝදිගේ පක්ෂයට BJP පක්ෂයට මන්ත්‍රී ආසන 275 පයින්කොට තමයි අපි ඉතාමත්ම වගකීමෙන් කියනවා ඉන්දියාවේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහා කොමසාරිස් කාර්යාලයට ඉන්දියානු බලධාරීන් දැනුම් දෙන්නේ වහාම කොළඹ වරායට අයිති නැගෙනහිර ජැටිය මෝදි දිවුරුම් දීමට පෙර අත්සන් කළ යුතුයි කියලා. වරාය සභාපතිවරයා වරාය අධිකාරියම නිකුත් කරපු නිවේදනයක සඳහන් කරලා තිබෙනවා අයිතියෙන් 51% ආණ්ඩුවට තියෙනවා ශ්‍රී ලංකා ආණ්ඩුවට තියෙනවා ඉතිරි 49% ජපානයට සහ ඉන්දියාවට තියෙනවා. දැන් මේ ආදායම් විදවැටීම නිසා මොකද වෙන්නේ? වරාය වෘත්තීය සමිතිය කියනවා වරාය සේවකයන් 10000ක පමණ රැකියා හිමිවීමේ අනතුරක් එනවා. මොකද උන්ට පඩි ගෙවන්න මුදල් ලැබෙන්නේ.
Well, we have some news or some development in the tourism sector, but we will make sure we'll go to a commercial break, so make sure you stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. The Board of Investment entered into a $4.5 million hotel investment agreement while assuring that investments will keep flowing into the country despite a delay in the realization of already committed FDIs. The investment agreement was inked in Colombo recently.
The Board of Investment entered into an agreement for the establishment of a luxury resort valued at over $4.5 million in Koggala, marking the entry of a new venture into Sri Lanka's tourism sector. The Plantation Villa project, scheduled to complete in 2020, comprised 14 one- and two-bedroom pool residences built along the southern coast. The investor, a tech entrepreneur, has previously developed luxury property in other parts of the region.
But the decision to invest in Sri Lanka was done before the bomb blast or after the bomb blast?
Absolutely, it was done before the bomb blast and not deterred at all by the bomb blast. We have a long-term view on Sri Lanka, and the bomb blast had absolutely zero impact on our decision on moving forward. It was like, it's happened, we feel very appalled that it happened, it could happen to any country in the world, and we move on. We always have a long-term view to a country. It's not just about this one project. Like, we also have another hotel in Ahangama that we're developing. We're developing another project in the fort. We already have existing restaurant and cafe in the fort. So for us, it's about a whole ecosystem.
Following the signing ceremony, BOI Chairman Mangalyapa was quizzed on whether there was an impact on investment into Sri Lanka following the Easter Sunday attacks.
So we don't see that kind of dramatic reduction or anything, but obviously the investors are also diligently looking how things are moving. So there is no cancellation, but of course there can be delays.
About half hour ago, central bank governor said that there has been about $700 billion in cancellation.
As far as we are concerned, we went through some difficult times. Third quarter, October impact is also part of the projection issue. April 21st is another hit. But nevertheless, if it didn't come in the first quarter, it doesn't mean that it won't come in the second quarter. It may get shifted, but it will come. It is our job to make sure what is committed is coming, and coming fast.
No, because the governor said it will drop by 700 million. That's right.
It will definitely have an impact. I'm not saying it is not going to be. The job of central bank is to be realistic in their assessments and give predictions accordingly. My job is quite different.
Central Bank Governor Dr. Nijit Kumaraswamy says the increase in taxes last year cost the Employees Provident Fund 11 billion rupees. He is hopeful that the forensic audits launched on central bank bond issuances will be completed by the end of the year.
පහුගිය කාලේ අපිට අහන්න ලැබුණා මේ ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුවේ මේ බැඳුම් කර සම්බන්ධයෙන් වෝහාරික පරීක්ෂණයක් සිදු කරන්න යනවා කියලා පසුගිය කාලේ ඇතිවෙච්ච ආందోලනාත්මක සිද්ධිත් පදනම් කරගෙන ඒ සම්බන්ධයෙන් නවතම තත්ත්වය මොකක්ද කියලා අපිට දැනගන්න පුළුවන්.
There are 6 forensic audits that are being conducted. 5 of them have started and they were started in April. In fact, they started the week before these events. Some of them will take about 2 to 3 months. The longest one, I believe, will take about 6 or 7 months. So we are hopeful that by the end of this year, all of them will be completed.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා මහ බැංකුව යටතේ පාලනය වෙන මේ සේවක අර්ථසාධක අරමුදල් මේකේ මුදල් කොටස් වෙළඳපොලේ ආයෝජනය කිරීමේ හේතුවෙන් ඒකට ලොකු පාඩු වුණායි කියලා පහුගිය කාලේ වසර ගණනාවක් අපි අහලා මේ රටේ ප්‍රවෘත්ති පළ වුණා. පහුගිය වසර කිහිපය තුළ කොටස් වෙළඳපොලේ ආයෝජනය කිරීමක් අපි දැක්කේ නැහැ. නමුත් දැන් සති කිහිපයකට පෙර ආතෝ නැවතත් කොටස් වෙළඳපොලට පිවිසෙන්නට තීන්දුව කරලා තියෙනවා. මේ කොටස් වෙළඳපොල යම් පසුබෑමක් තියෙන අවධියක
The EPF grows at the rate of 300 billion rupees a year. Right? It's a 2 trillion fund. So there is 300 billion of investable resources. Now, the government's borrowing requirement is coming down. So we have to find avenues for investing the EPFs. Clearly, the stock market is one such avenue. It is true there were some problems with that. We have had some internal inquiries. 2 of the forensic audits are into the operations of the EPF. So when these are completed, we would need to see what action has to be taken. Then, in terms of the processes and procedures, there is an investment committee, an investment oversight committee, and the investment committee meets on a daily basis, so nobody can make decisions on their own. There can't be rogue traders operating. There is greater transparency because from now on, the investment operations of the EPF, including the stock market operations, will be put on the EPF website on a quarterly basis. So everybody can see what has happened. Also, before investing, the EPF officers will put a paper up to the monetary board to get approval of the companies in which they're going to invest. Because you know, in the past there were issues about unlisted companies, etc. One of the reasons we have gone in at this point, share market is extraordinarily undervalued at the moment. The best companies in the country are sometimes valued below the book value or at book value. So that's why it was considered that this is a good time to go into the market. The risk management department of the central bank is drawing up the investment guidelines of the EPF. So it's a different department that will be developing the guidelines.
කියන්නේ මේ පහුගිය කාලේ වාර්තා වෙච්ච අඩුම පොලිය අරමුදලේ ආදායම අඩු වීම නිසාද මේ සිද්ධිය වුනේ?
අරමුදලට තියෙන ආයෝජන අවස්ථාවන් විශේෂයෙන්ම භාණ්ඩාගාර බැඳුම් කරලා උනත් පහුගිය කාලයේ ආදායම අපි දැක්ක පහළ මට්ටමක තියෙනවා. මොකද පොලි අනුපාතයන් වල වෙනස් වීමත් එක්ක එම ආයෝජන ආදායම් මට්ටම් පහළ මට්ටමකට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා ඒ අවස්ථාවේදී අපිට සිදු වෙනවා ඒ අරමුදල් වශයෙන් ගෙවන ලබන ප්‍රතිලාභයන්ගේ අනුපාතයත් ඒට සමානුපාතිකව පහළට ගෙන එන්න. විශේෂයෙන්ම ඒට තවත් හේතුවක් වුණේ ආදායම් බදු වලට මේම අරමුදල් ලක්වීම නිසා පහුගිය වසරේදී.
That cost the EPF about 11 billion rupees, the tax increase.
The list of stocks that the EPF has decided to buy from time to time or whatever, because it's not known to the market, some people who know it can be kind of insider dealing if some people get to know. So isn't it better to disclose it so that it like everybody knows? And then way of the brokers you give orders to will know and nobody else will know.
On balance, my inclination is that disclosing the EPF's intentions, particularly because it's a massive fund, right? I mean, it has enormous firepower. So I think its intentions could shift markets this way and that way in a way which won't be very constructive, I don't.
The US will end preferential trade status for India next week. President Donald Trump has confirmed amid a deepening row over protectionism. India had been the largest beneficiary of a scheme that allows some goods to enter the US duty-free. However, Trump said that status will end on Wednesday. In March, he announced that it would be revoked because India had failed to provide adequate access to its markets, but Trump gave no date. On Friday, he said it is appropriate to terminate India's designation as a beneficiary developing country. Meanwhile, market analysts expect low activity at the Colombo Bourse over the course of the new week as investors adopt a wait-and-see approach. During the past week, the SPI gained 0.30%, while the S&P SL20 increased by 0.23%. We now have Dimanta Matthew with the market forecast.
Activity levels are likely to be low as profit taking takes place. In the equity market, we expect buying interest to slowly return to the market as interest rates fall at a gradual pace. Due to the interest rate decline, market is likely to re-rate itself upwards at a gradual pace, while turnover levels are likely to be slow as most investors watch the market waiting for the most opportune time to enter.
Well, we have international news on the other side, so make sure you stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo said today that the United States is prepared to engage without Iran without preconditions about its nuclear program, but needs to see the country behaving like a normal nation. Iran responded by calling the offer wordplay and asked for action instead. Iran's President Hassan Rouhani suggested yesterday that Iran may be willing to hold talks if Washington showed it respect, but said Tehran would not be pressured into talks. Pompeo, in an apparent softening of his previous stance, said when asked about Rouhani's remarks, quote, "We are prepared to engage in a conversation with no preconditions. We are ready to sit down," unquote. Meanwhile, US President Donald Trump arrives in Britain on a state visit laden with a diplomatic peril, having already humiliated outgoing Prime Minister Theresa May over Brexit and challenged her to be tougher in dealing with China's Huawei. Trump and his wife Melania will be treated to a display of British royal pageantry during the June 3rd to the 5th visit. The US President also brings demands. He has praised a more radical Brexit supporting potential successor to May, and his envoys have urged a tougher British stance towards telecom giant Huawei. In an interview with the Sunday Times newspaper, Trump said the next British leader should send arch-Brexiteer Nigel Farage to conduct talks with the EU. Well, being invited to bat first, Bangladesh handed South Africa a victory target of 330 runs. Mushfiqur Rahim was the highest scorer for Bangladesh with a knock of 78 runs, while Shakib Al Hassan chipped in with 75 runs. Andy Pelukwayo, Chris Morris and Imran Tahir shared 2 wickets each for the Proteas. Chasing 331, the Proteas are currently on 192 for the loss of 3 wickets. Well, Royal College recorded an emphatic 34-17 victory against rivals Trinity College in the first leg of the 75th Bradby Shield rugby encounter at the Pallacaddy Stadium yesterday.
Starting the 75th Bradby Shield rugby encounter, both Royal College and Trinity College played an error-ridden first half, with Royalists scoring 15 and Trinity 12 points. Royal College collected their points from 2 tries, 1 conversion and a penalty, while Trinity responded with 2 tries and 1 conversion. Coming into the second half, Trinity opened scoring with a try. Royal, on the other hand, bounced back, extending their score to 37 without allowing Trinity a single other point.
Well, they have upsetting exits for a 3-time champion Serena Williams and world number 1 Naomi Osaka during the weekend as they were defeated by their respective opponents in straight sets at the French Open. In the men's draw, top seed Novak Djokovic and 5th seed Alexander Zverev got through to the 3rd round.
World number 1 Novak Djokovic barely broke sweat as he coasted through the tournament's 3rd round 6-3, 6-3, 6-2 against Italian qualifier Salvatore Caruso. Djokovic will next face either Germany's Jan-Lennard Struff or 13th seed Bona Koric of Croatia. Earlier in the women's draw, former world number 1 Serena Williams was stunned in the 3rd round by 20-year-old unseeded American Sofia Kenin, who defeated Williams 6-2, 7-5. World number 1 Naomi Osaka's 16-match winning streak in Grand Slam tournaments came to an end as the top seed was beaten 6-4, 6-2 by Czech Katerina Siniakova, who is the world's top-ranked doubles player.
And with that, we conclude this edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining us and have a pleasant evening.